The successful demonstration took place at the Aviation Africa 2025 summit in Kigali, the capital of Rwanda. With this event, Rwanda joined countries like China, Germany, Israel, the Dominican Republic, and the United States in testing self-flying, electric passenger drones. For a long time, people said Africa should wait, watch, and follow others in technology. But on that morning in Kigali, Rwanda proved them wrong. A self-flying passenger drone lifted into the sky. Not in Dubai. Not in Paris. But right in the heart of Africa. This was not just a flight, it was proof that Africa can lead, create, and innovate. On September 3, 2025, the sky over Kigali changed. Instead of the loud noise of jets or helicopters, there was a soft electric hum. Rising above the ground was the EHang passenger drone, no pilot, no controls, just 2 seats and an intelligence system flying on its own. The drone climbed 100 meters and hovered in the air as if to mark history. For Africa, this was more than a test flight. It was a symbol of progress and a continent rising to new heights. The spectators on the ground, officials and citizens alike, weren't just watching a test flight. They were witnessing history. Africa's first public passenger drone flight. The timing was no accident. Rwanda chose the Africa Aviation Summit 2025 to make its bold reveal. Delegates, journalists, and investors who expected routine conference talks instead found themselves face to face with the future. It was a clear statement: Africa would no longer play background music in global aviation. It would lead the orchestra. For decades, Africa's skies were mostly linked with negative stories: struggling airlines, outdated fleets, and second-hand planes from the West. But that changed the moment the EH-216 passenger drone lifted into the sky. Africa was no longer just a customer of aviation. It had become the stage for aviation's most daring experiment. The message was undeniable. The old excuses, that Africa wasn't ready, that it was unstable, or too poor, collapsed in an instant. Kigali wasn't just ready. It was ahead. Ahead of Western cities stuck in paperwork. Ahead of Europe, still caught in endless debates. Ahead of the United States, slowed by fear of change. While others delayed, Rwanda acted. And for millions of Africans watching online, the meaning went far beyond aviation. It was about pride. It was about seeing their continent, so often misrepresented as behind, finally leading in a field most of the world hasn't even touched. For once, Africa wasn't being told what to do. Africa was showing the way. The world was watching, and some were even envying. That envy burned. Aviation experts admitted they hadn't expected it. Western analysts tried to dismiss it as only symbolic. But symbols matter. They shape confidence, attract investment, and change how nations are seen. Rwanda didn't just fly a drone, it showed a mindset: Africa doesn't need permission to innovate. This flight was less about passengers in a cabin and more about a continent breaking through limits placed on it for decades. As the drone touched down, the applause wasn't only for Rwanda. It was for Africa's arrival. But one question lingered: how did such a small nation achieve something so big? The answer is strategy. Rwanda has learned to turn its small size into global impact. Instead of competing with bigger countries on scale, it moves with speed and precision. While larger nations drown in red tape, Rwanda acts quickly, becoming the continent's laboratory of innovation. Small enough to test, bold enough to take risks, and smart enough to scale. This approach isn't new. Years ago, Rwanda shocked the world by launching medical drone deliveries nationwide, flying blood and vaccines across mountains long before richer nations dared to try. That wasn't just about saving lives, it was a message: Africa does not need to wait. Its medical drone program made it a star at innovation conferences. Its green policies made it a model for sustainability. And now, its passenger drone flight has placed it at the center of aviation's future. These moves aren't random. They're part of a bigger strategy linking technology to national pride, self-reliance, and sovereignty. In the modern world, innovation is power. Being first gives you leverage. Critics say Rwanda is being flashy or overambitious. But this flight proved otherwise. Rwanda is not chasing vanity projects, it's using technology as a tool of influence. Its smallness is not a weakness, it's an advantage. It allows Kigali to move fast, to take risks bigger nations can't. Each bold experiment expands its global footprint. And with this passenger drone flight, Rwanda has shown once again that even small nations can lead, disrupt, and rewrite the rules of the global order. But vision alone doesn't put a drone in the sky. Rwanda has also chosen its partners carefully, making sure every move isn't just bold, but also sustainable. So the question becomes, who stood beside Kigali in making this leap, and what does this alliance mean for Africa? No nation, no matter how sharp its strategy, can launch a passenger drone alone. Rwanda's historic flight was built on partnerships that changed the balance of power in Africa's skies. Behind the drone's graceful ascent stood two key allies, the China Road and Bridge Corporation, CRBC, and EHang, the pioneer of autonomous air mobility. Together with Rwanda's political will, they formed a triangle of vision, engineering, and technology, a combination few expected, but none can now ignore. For years, CRBC has built roads, ports, and bridges across Africa. But in Rwanda, its role shifted. This time, it wasn't about highways or concrete, it was about creating the foundations of a new aviation economy. Landing pads, charging stations, and the infrastructure needed for air mobility. Engineering wasn't just about the ground anymore, it was about the skies. Rwanda understood this, and CRBC became the enabler. Then there's EHang. Often dismissed in the West as experimental, EHang has already flown in China, the UAE, and the Middle East. This isn't a prototype gathering dust, it's a tested, proven machine, ready to redefine urban transport. By choosing Rwanda as the stage for Africa's first passenger drone flight, EHang wasn't just showing off technology, it was choosing a side. It signaled that Africa, not Europe or America, would be the next frontier for autonomous aviation. But here's the crucial part: this isn't charity. Rwanda is not a passive recipient of foreign technology. It is an active architect writing the rules, shaping the legal framework, and deciding how these technologies fit into its cities. Kigali is making sure Africa isn't just a showroom for outside inventions but a co-owner of the future. For CRBC, Rwanda is a gateway to prove Chinese engineering can build the skeleton of a new aviation economy. For EHang, Rwanda is proof that its vision of autonomous mobility can thrive far beyond Asia. And for Rwanda, these partners are tools for leverage, a way to place itself at the center of a technological axis that spans continents. Some Western analysts will dismiss this as China expanding in Africa. But that misses the real point. This isn't about China expanding, it's about Africa choosing. Kigali didn't wait for Washington or Brussels to hand down outdated machines under the banner of partnership. It went where ambition matched its own. The symbolism is powerful. While the West debates whether Africa is ready for innovation, Africa is already building with partners who treat it as capable. While Europe argues over regulations, Rwanda writes its own. While the US obsesses over dominance, Rwanda simply moved forward quietly, decisively, and with the right allies at its side. Let's continue. When Rwanda's drone rose into the sky, it wasn't just an engineering test, it was the opening shot in a new economic war. The battlefield is called the low-altitude economy. And whoever dominates it will control far more than transport. They will control logistics, health, agriculture, tourism, and even security. So what exactly is this low-altitude economy? It's the airspace between the rooftops and the skies, below 1,000 meters, where passenger drones, cargo carriers, and surveillance aircraft operate. For decades, aviation focused on high-altitude jets crossing continents. But the future lies closer to the ground. Here, drones can move people across cities without traffic, deliver goods faster than trucks, monitor crops with precision, or respond instantly to disasters. This overlooked space is where trillions of dollars will be created. For Africa, the potential is huge. Take Lagos, where commuters can lose up to 4 hours a day in traffic. Passenger drones could turn those long hours into minutes. Or consider Nairobi's rural divide, where medicines and doctors struggle to reach villages cut off by bad roads. Drone corridors could erase that gap, giving equal access to healthcare everywhere. Even agriculture, Africa's lifeline, could be transformed. Drones can check soil health, deliver fertilizers, and track locust swarms before they spread. Tourism, too, could be reinvented. Imagine visitors soaring quietly over Rwanda's volcanoes, spotting gorillas from the air without disturbing nature. Or coastal nations offering aerial tours of coral reefs and rainforests. For once, Africa's natural beauty could be monetized by Africans themselves, through African-controlled skies. But the low-altitude economy is not just about opportunity. It's about sovereignty. Whoever controls this airspace will decide who benefits from it. If Africa fails to secure ownership, foreign corporations could take over, just like they once took Africa's mines, oil, and railroads. The skies could become the new goldfields, exploited for outside profit while Africans pay for access to their own air. That is why Rwanda's demonstration matters so deeply. It's not just about flying technology, it's about planting a flag. By creating its own rules and proving its own capabilities, Rwanda has shown that Africa does not need to wait for permission. The continent cannot afford to repeat the mistakes of the digital age, where Silicon Valley built the platforms and Africa was left as the consumer. This time, Africa must be the producer, the regulator, and the innovator all at once. The urgency is clear: control the skies, or risk losing them. When Rwanda's drone lifted into the sky, it was more than just an engineering test. It was the opening shot in a new economic war, the war for the low-altitude economy. This battlefield isn't 30,000 feet above the ground where airlines roam. It's the invisible space just below 1,000 meters. And whoever controls it will command far more than transport. They will own the future of logistics, healthcare, agriculture, tourism, and even national security. Think about it. Cities like Lagos, where commuters lose 4 hours a day to traffic, could suddenly shrink to minutes with autonomous air taxis. Villages cut off by bad roads could receive medicine and doctors through drone corridors. Farmers could track locust swarms before they turn into plagues, saving millions from hunger. Even tourism could be transformed. Imagine gliding silently over Rwanda's volcanoes or coastal nations offering aerial views of coral reefs, all powered by African-controlled skies. But this is not just about opportunity, it's about sovereignty. If Africa fails to claim this airspace, foreign corporations will. Just as outsiders once seized Africa's mines, oil, and railroads, they will seize the skies too. Rwanda's bold demonstration was a declaration: Africa does not need to wait for permission. Meanwhile, China is already building drone highways. The UAE is branding itself as the capital of flying taxis.